Hi, I'm Ben-Yaakov. This presentation is entitled Power Electronics Fundamentals, Why Ferrite and a Gap in Power Inductors. Now we know that many power inductors are built around a ferrite core with a gap. And if you'd ask why, then there are actually two ways it is explained, either by pages of equations or things like, okay, ferrite has a high permeability. Well, it doesn't say why do we need it, and then why we need a gap, and how long should be the gap from fundamental relationship. So in this presentation, I'm going to give an intuitive explanation to these questions or to the answers to these questions. And these are based on first principle, that is, starting with the very basic electromagnetic relationship and getting to the answer of these three. This is a tutorial, of course. I'm not showing here how to design an inductor. There is a video, a number of videos in my YouTube channel which are showing how to design inductors. So this is not a design presentation, it's not a design guideline, but rather a understanding, intuitive understanding, why do we need a ferrite to begin with, and why do we need the gap, and how do they interact. I'll also be touching on rod inductors to show that they are actually abiding the same rules and first principle that I'll be discussing here. So let's start with the case of a inductor which is built around a closed structure here, no gap. Here are the windings. Here is the cross-section area of this structure here, and L is the magnetic path length. So I'm starting with the very basic definition of inductance. Inductance is N phi over I. That is, if you have a structure with N turns, and this is the magnetic flux, which I'm assuming is confined within the structure itself because the permeability is high, and I is actually the cause for this flux. That is, the flux is due to the current passing through this N turns. Then this is a basic definition of inductor. Now the magnetic flux is related to the magnetic flux density, or magnetic flux density is the magnetic flux over area, or the flux is the density times the area. And then the magnetic flux density is related to the magnetic field by the permeability. This is the combined permeability. This is the air or vacuum permeability. And this is relative permeability. If this would be a ferrite, then the relative permeability above the vacuum or air permeability is relatively high. It'll be like 2,000 or 4,000. So this is a factor which is increasing the total permeability. And then I'm relying on Ampere's law. Ampere's law says that the magnetic field within this structure here will be Ni over L. N is, again, number of turns, I the current, and L is the magnetic path length. Okay, so this is very basic relationship. And then plugging this into the definition of the inductance, I'm getting the equation of the inductance as a function of the number of turns, permeability, cross-section area, and magnetic path length. So what we see here is that the inductance is linearly proportional to the permeability. The higher the permeability, the higher the inductance. So if I need a certain inductance, then if I have a high permeability material, then the cross-section area could be smaller, or the number of turns could be smaller. In other words, the physical size of the inductor would be small if the permeability is high, relative permeability is high. So the main purpose of a ferrite material, which has a high permeability, is to make the inductor, the physical size of the inductor, small. This is the reason. However, there is a problem here in that there are some limitations to the magnetic flux density. Now, for this material, 3C98 of ferrous cube, the saturation is around 300 to 400 millitesla. And this is a function of the magnetic field, which is related to the current. So at high current, the unit goes into saturation. Now, permeability is the slope here. Now, here the slope is very low, so therefore I'm losing all the permeability at around saturation, and this is why I don't want to go into this area. So there is a limitation to B. Also, changes in B, that is an AC component of the magnetic flux density, will cause losses, and here are the losses per volume. And here is the peak value of the AC component of the magnetic flux density. So we see the higher the peak, the higher the losses. And here is the frequency. The higher the frequency, the higher the losses. You'd like to work usually around here, say, which means that you are limited by the peak value of the AC component of B. So there is a limit to the magnetic flux density that you like to work with, either from saturation point of view or loss point of view. So now we have to derive an expression for the B, for the magnetic flux density. Again, B is related to the magnetic field. Again, we have Ampere's law, which is sort of the main actor here, and plugging Ampere law's relationship into the relationship between B and H, I am getting this expression. Now, this expression shows us that, first of all, our desire for a high permeability will cause a high B max. And that B max, of course, is a function of I max, which is clear. So this shows that from the point of view of the magnetic flux density, you'd like to have a lower permeability. Now, I can do this by choosing a material which has a low permeability. Now, materials like powder core or distributed gap, as they are called, like cool mu of magnetics, are offered with various permeability. Like if ferrite relative permeability is 2000, 4000, you can get for powder core material with permeability of 50 or even 20 relative permeability. So you can really get a low permeability that you need when the current is high. Current is high meaning for a given inductance that the energy stored is high. Energy is I square L over 2. So high current, high energy require a low permeability to harness the B max. So from the point of view of the magnetic flux density, we need a lower permeability, which again can be obtained by materials that have a low permeability. These materials, by the way, are made by actually mixing high permeabilities ferromagnetic material with inert material so as to come up with sort of a distributed gap, you might say, material. Now, unfortunately, powder core have high loss at high frequency. They are okay at frequency, say, up to 50 to 100 kilohertz. Now, if the ripple component of the current, which makes a ripple component of the magnetic flux density, is large, then you cannot use actually powder core because of the high loss if the switching frequency is high, say a few hundred kilohertz, not to say 1 megahertz. So in this case, you cannot use this solution, but we can use the gapped core solution. So now we come to this classical design of a ferrite core with the air gap. And here is the explanation. What is this gap actually doing? Now, I'm starting again with Ampere's law. Now, I'm showing here in the circular integral form because I'm moving now through two zones. One is the ferrite part here, and one is the air. So we sort of break down this integral into two parts, two discrete parts. And this is now the magnetic field within the ferrite length, magnetic path length within the ferrite, and this is the magnetic field within the gap and the length of the gap. So this is now breaking down this Ampere's law in this form, and then replacing H by B over the permeability, I get this relationship from which I can extract B. So here is what I'm getting. Magnetic flux density is related to the Ni, MMF you might say, divided by these two terms. Now they sort of look alike, but here we have the magnetic path length of the ferrite, and here is the gap, and here is the total permeability of the ferrite, and this is air. Now, mu sub r for ferrite is very high, so for many practical cases, this term is much smaller than this one because of the very large value of mu r, okay? Although L sub f, this is the magnetic path length in the ferrite, is longer than Lg, but still in most cases, it turns out that the term, if you take the 2 into account, then still this is smaller than this term. So to simplify things, I'm approximating this denominator by this truncated part, Ng over mu r. So what we see here, that indeed the length of the gap is reducing the magnetic flux density. The longer the gap, the smaller is the magnetic flux density, and this is again required to keep the limits per design. Now the question is, what is the permeability in this case? Okay, so starting with this expression that I've developed earlier, plugging it into the definition of inductance, I'm getting this equation, which first of all shows out that the larger the gap, the smaller the inductance, meaning that the permeability is apparently going down. But I can sort of show it in a nicer way by reworking this equation to this form. What I did here, I've divided it by the magnetic path length, the total or the ferrite, which are about the same because the gap is small, and then having this term here, okay? So rather than just having L sub G, I've replaced it by the magnetic path length, say, of the total core, and then divided it by the gap. So now you see that this is very similar to the classical equation of the inductor, the inductance that we've seen earlier. Here we have mu sub r, meaning that this is now the effective permeability that we have. So the gap, by changing B, is actually changing the effective permeability, if you calculate it this way, from mu sub r of the ferrite into this value. Now, if the ratio between the lengths, say it's 100 millimeter and the gap is 1 millimeter, then the effective permeability will be 100. So one can control now the effective permeability by the length of the gap. Now, what about rod inductors? Well, they are really very similar to what we just discussed, except that the structure is open here, so we sort of have a very large air gap. This is a ferrite core, then the permeability is reduced a lot. Now, without the core, you would need more turns or a larger cross-section area, as we have seen before. So the argument is exactly the same, but the structure is really different, and obviously because of the spread of the flux here, the equations are not as neat as I've shown earlier. I'm not going into it, just to say that the basics are exactly the same. So what are the conclusions here? I've posed 3 questions. Why the ferrite? Well, ferrite reduces the physical side of our inductor. We've seen that. Now, why the gap? It reduces the magnetic flux density that you have to limit to avoid saturation and to keep the losses at a given value that you define. And how long should the gap be? Well, it has to be adjusted such that the core will not go into saturation. This is one requirement. And the other one is not to exceed some B peak AC component to reduce the losses to the value that you wish. So this brings me to the end of this presentation. I hope you found it of interest. Again, this is a tutorial. intended to explain basic concept in power electronics. Thank you very much for your attention.